Hey, this Sunday, brilliant day. And it's something that we should do every day, to be honest. It's International Women's Day. And it's when people from all over the globe come together to celebrate the achievements of women in all walks of life, right the way through history. And we should, and even now, because there's some brilliance, especially in our part of the world. Now, Sian Williams has been speaking to some of the brilliant women from across Teesside County, Durham and North Yorkshire. They are Joanne Bell, Director of Industrial Solutions, Zoe Lewis, Principal of the wonderful Middlesbrough College, Nikki Jolly, Managing Director of HR Today, and Janet Ford, a solicitor at Signet Law, and Bianca Robinson, who's the CEO of CEO Sleep Out. Now, they've christened themselves, and I think rightly, the North East answer to loose women, and they've been discussing some of the topics that matter to them most, including equality.
I mean, I'm a New Zealander, so New Zealanders, we were the first to give women the vote. Equality is something we don't even think about. We've had 3 female prime ministers leading our country. So I came into Teesside and I didn't even clock the ratio of men to women until about 5 years ago. I started going to networking. I was thinking, yeah, that's fine. There's like 3 women in this room and 70 men, you know, and that's how it was. And I was thinking, I started to notice it, and then I started to think, wow, when you see it, you can't sort of unsee it. Yeah. But here's an interesting factoid. Did you know that in the FTSE 100 companies, there are more people called Steve Stevens running FTSE 100 companies than there are women?
That's shocking, really, isn't it?
Equality of opportunity, isn't it? And I think that's the interesting thing, because women might have equality of opportunity in some careers but choose not to for other reasons. And then you have to look at the barriers, and there are barriers around maternity leave. Maternity pay is still very poor and the burden still falls on employers. If you could change one or both of those two, you would see significantly different decision making. Childcare is still expensive, so generally the lower paid may choose to give up work or work part-time just to make it worthwhile, otherwise you're spending more on childcare. So that's a barrier that could be addressed. So if you start to unpick these barriers, you then start to not just equalise opportunity but equalise decision making.
So it's peeling the layers back effectively and getting to the root cause, isn't it? That's what you're saying, really. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So would the bigger picture be to try and level up different types of jobs and roles? And
I suppose it goes to the point of the way that society values the roles, doesn't it? The approach that's taken from that point of view to equalise the pay inequality across the professions. So again, it's peeling back the layers, isn't it, and looking at the root causes.
I mean, we're committed to taking on two new apprentices every year. So this year we're going to focus on the apprentices that are going to be in our workshop. So we're going to be looking for engineers. When I was at school, if you saw an engineer, a picture of an engineer, it was a guy and he had a hat on and he had his overalls on. And I'm assuming that's very much still the same these days. So if when we put the advert out for the engineers, I like to hope that we would get some female applicants to review, but normally chances are it'll be mostly males that we get through. So there's also that to consider as well. So I don't know if, you might be able to answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positive targeting to demyth those stereotypes, and you know, we've tripled the number of girls, for example, going into engineering disciplines through actively changing the images. But it still comes down to that critical point in your life when you're thinking of having a family, is generally when your career's taking off. And it was one of the most difficult times of my life, was making that decision. More and more men are choosing to work flexibly and choosing to spend more time with their children, particularly when they're young. And in a lot of engineering industries around here, you wouldn't have seen that 10, certainly 20 years ago. There were more and more men working 4 days a week and sharing childcare with the wives. And I think just the passage of time will start to change that as men choose to want the same, actually, equality of opportunity around being with their families, as women want the opportunity to be with their families and work. It is interesting though, because you know, I always make a bit of a joke. My husband was amazing. He did a lot of childcare when I came back to work. But there is something in our minds, isn't there? You know, I can't miss a parents' evening. I can't miss a Christmas panto. I want to know everything about my children, their friends, what they're doing, where they are. It's that guilty, you know, I want to be. I don't know whether it's guilt or whether it's just, I just want to. And I'm not sure that my husband has that necessarily, that guilt. And he's a wonderful father, but I just think we have something drawing us to absolutely be at all of those things and those life moments. And that's why I think perhaps we seek more flexible options.
Yeah, I have to say, since going self-employed, one of the very early things that our daughter said at Christmas is, what would you like for Christmas? And she said, I'd like you both to not be on your work iPads all of the time. And that was a massive step change for us. And we really sat down and analysed that and said, what is the point of being self-employed if we can't get that right for our daughter? Now, we've got that flexibility, and I appreciate not everybody else has, but we will work till the job's done. I appreciate we're working for ourselves, but I think it comes back to the flexibility. If you give people flexibility, my employees will log on an evening, but it's always after the kids have gone to bed and they've had the time and the flexibility to be with the family. So it comes all the way back to giving people freedom of choice.
A real interesting insight into the thoughts of some really, really intelligent, successful, brilliant people from our part of the world who just so happen to be women as well. And that's what it's all about, International Women's Day, just that recognition, that thought of the brilliant stuff that goes on in our patch. And you know what? Sometimes it is